Let me ask you something straight up. Are you running your business or is your business running you? Because there's a moment in every entrepreneur's journey, a moment where hustle alone isn't enough, where passion starts to burn out, where scaling feels impossible, where your dream starts to feel more like a trap than a mission. That's the moment you need to wake up and say, it's time for mastery. Business isn't about luck. It's not about who's got the fanciest office or the flashiest pitch. It's a science. It's a psychology. It's a strategy. And if you want to dominate in your industry, not survive, but scale, lead, and own your space, then you've got to master the game on every level. You need to master your mindset, your team, your financials, your marketing, your customer experience, your leadership, because business mastery doesn't come from doing more, it comes from becoming more. The difference between a business that's barely making it and one that's breaking records, it's not resources, it's resourcefulness. It's the ability to adapt faster, lead stronger, and make bold decisions when others freeze. So if you're ready to stop playing small, if you're done reacting and ready to start leading, if you want a business that's not just profitable but purpose-driven, then welcome, this is Business Mastery. This is where legacies are built, and it starts now. Every entrepreneur wants the edge. They want the secret formula, the winning strategy, the latest hack. But here's the truth, most people never tell you the first battlefield in business is not in the market. It's in your mind. You can have the best idea, the best product, the best team, but if your psychology is off, your business will always stay small, scattered, or stuck. The inner game always comes before the outer game. What separates the business owners who thrive from those who burn out isn't just talent or tools, it's emotional fitness. It's their ability to push through fear, to make decisions in uncertainty, to lead when everything around them feels like it's falling apart. That doesn't come from your business plan, it comes from your belief system. Most entrepreneurs are focused on tactics. They are looking for the next tool, the next trend, the next viral opportunity. But if deep down you believe you're not enough, or that you're going to fail, or that you're not worthy of success, then no tactic will save you. You'll self-sabotage, you'll play small, you'll hesitate when it's time to strike. That's why the first mastery you need is mastery over yourself. Think about this. How do you respond to failure? How do you handle rejection? What do you do when the plan doesn't work? Most people react emotionally. They spiral, they freeze, they quit. But a business master knows that every challenge is training. Every breakdown is feedback. Every fear is a door to deeper growth. You can't lead a business until you can lead your own mind. Your thoughts shape your feelings shape your actions shape your results. If your thinking is reactive, limited, or driven by fear, your business will mirror that. But if you condition your mind to stay strong, focused, creative, and confident even in chaos, your business will grow because you're growing. That's the secret no one talks about enough. Your business is a direct reflection of you. When I coach CEO athletes or top entrepreneurs, the first thing I work on isn't their product or pitch, it's their state. Your state, your emotional, mental, physical energy in any given moment determines how you show up. And how you show up determines what happens next. So if you want to master your business, start by mastering your state. You've got to build rituals that prime your mind for success every single day. Not once a month, not when you feel motivated, every day, because your habits create your identity. You don't wake up confident. You condition confidence. You don't stumble into mental toughness. You train it. You don't feel like a leader, and then you lead, and that identity is forged in the fire of consistent action. Mastering the inner game means you stop being a slave to your emotions. It means when fear shows up, you don't run. You lean in. You breathe through it. You use it, because fear isn't your enemy. Fear is fuel when you learn how to channel it. Same with anger, same with doubt. Most people try to get rid of these feelings. Masters, they integrate them, they own them. They let them sharpen their focus and deepen their drive. And here's another thing, you've got to upgrade your story. Because whatever story you're telling yourself, that you're too young, too old, too late, too inexperienced, too introverted, it's not truth. It's just a story, and stories are powerful because your brain will do whatever it can to prove them right. If your story is, I'm not a real leader, guess what? You'll shrink in front of your team. If your story is I'm bad with money, you'll avoid your finances and stay broke. If your story is no one will pay that much, you'll undercharge and undervalue you yourself until you burn out. Change your story, change your business. But don't just throw affirmations at it. Don't lie to yourself. Rewire your story by stacking real evidence. Start keeping promises to yourself. Start doing hard things. Start showing your nervous system that you can lead, you can make bold moves, and you can win. Confidence isn't built through comfort, it's built through courage in action. And let's talk about identity. Because your business will never outgrow your sense of self. If you see yourself as a freelancer, you'll act like one. If you see yourself as a struggling entrepreneur, you'll make choices from fear. But the moment you start to embody the identity of a powerful leader, a visionary, a builder, everything shifts. You'll stop chasing and start creating. You'll stop reacting and start strategizing. You'll stop begging for results and start commanding outcomes not from arrogance, but from clarity, certainty, and alignment. This isn't about ego, this is about ownership, owning your role, owning your voice, owning your impact. And that starts in your mindset long before it shows up in your bank account or Instagram feed. When the world throws punches, and it will, you won't flinch, because you'll have built something unshakable on the inside. You won't need validation from outside metrics to feel powerful because you'll know who you are and what you're building. That's what mastering the inner game gives you. It gives you freedom. It gives you clarity. It gives you power that doesn't depend on perfect circumstances. So before you hire a new team member, before you launch another product, before you chase more likes or leads, master yourself. Train your mind to stay focused under pressure. Condition your emotions to stay steady in storms. Upgrade your story. Align your identity with the future you're building. Because once your inner world is unshakable, there's nothing the outer world can throw at you that you can't handle. That's how you win. That's how you lead. That's how you build a business that lasts. Let's get brutally honest. If you don't know your numbers, you're not running a business, you're gambling. You're playing blind, hoping it works, crossing your fingers that the bills get paid, the payroll clears, and the profits somehow show up. But business doesn't reward hope, it rewards clarity, precision, discipline, and that all starts with knowing your numbers. You'd be shocked how many entrepreneurs I've worked with, brilliant people, passionate people, people with massive visions who have no idea what's really going on in their business financially. They know how to market, they know how to sell, they know how to inspire. But when I ask them simple questions like, what's your profit margin? What's your cost per acquisition? What's your monthly recurring revenue? What's your cash flow runway? They freeze. They guess, they fumble, and that's why they're stuck. That's why they're stressed. That's why their business feels like a treadmill they can't get off. Because you cannot master what you don't measure. If you're not tracking it, you're not leading it, it's leading you. The truth is, numbers don't lie. They don't care about your story, your emotions, your excuses, or your potential. They are the language of your business. And if you don't speak that language fluently, you will always be reacting instead of anticipating. You'll make emotional decisions instead of strategic ones. You'll confuse revenue with success and cash flow with freedom, and that's a dangerous game. Let's clear something up right now. Revenue is not profit. Just because you're bringing in money doesn't mean you're keeping any. I've seen 7 and 8 figure businesses go bankrupt because their expenses outpaced their discipline. They were growing top line but bleeding from the bottom. They celebrated the sales and ignored the margins until it was too late. You've got to know your numbers like a fighter knows his footwork, because in business, money is not just a tool, it's your oxygen. You run out, you're done, game over. That's why financial mastery is not optional, it's survival. So what numbers do you need to know cold? Not once a year, not when your accountant sends a report, but every week, every month, every quarter. Let's break it down. You need to know your cash flow, how much money is coming in, how much is going out, and when. Because profit on paper means nothing if you can't make payroll. You need to know your gross and net profit margins, so you understand how much of your income is actually staying in your pocket. You need to track your fixed and variable costs, because when hard times hit, the difference between those could make or break you. You need to know your cost per acquisition, CPA, how much it costs to acquire a customer, and your lifetime value LTV, how much that customer brings in over time. If your CPA is higher than your LTV, you don't have a business, you have a very expensive hobby. You need to know your break. Even point how many units, services, or packages you need to sell just to cover your expenses. You need to watch your burn rate, how fast you're spending, and your runway, how long you've got before the cash dries up. But it's not just about knowing the numbers, it's about using them, because data without action is just noise. What separates masters from amateurs is this: they don't just collect numbers, they make decisions from them. They use data to optimize, to forecast, to identify bottlenecks, to find opportunities, to scale with precision. When you know your numbers, you stop guessing. You stop making decisions based on emotions or assumptions. You make them based on facts, truth, evidence. And here's the kicker: you don't need to be a financial genius to do this. You just need to stop avoiding it. You need to build systems that give you visibility. You need to hire smart, reliable people who live in the data. You need to develop the discipline to review your numbers regularly, even when it's uncomfortable, especially when it's uncomfortable. Avoidance is the fastest way to financial pain. Awareness is the first step to freedom, because when you know your numbers, everything changes. You gain confidence, you take control. You stop flying blind and start flying strategic. Suddenly, you're not wondering why the money's not there, you know where it's going. You're not panicking about a dip in sales, you see it coming before it hits. You're not overhiring or underpricing because your decisions are based on real, actionable insight. And here's what else happens. You start to see your business not as a hustle, not as a grind, but as a machine. A well-oiled system. One where you can pull levers, run tests, and drive results predictably. That's when scaling becomes possible. That's when real growth happens, not just hype, actual profitability, actual sustainability. When I work with business owners and we help them truly get intimate with their numbers, not just the sexy front end metrics, but the back, in truth, their confidence skyrockets. Suddenly, they're not afraid to raise prices. They're not afraid to cut what's not working. They're not afraid to invest wisely because they know the numbers back them up. They become leaders, not just dreamers. So ask yourself, do you really know what's going on inside your business? Can you tell me your current cash position, your customer churn rate, your average order value, your 90-day revenue forecast? If the answer is no, that's not judgment. That's your wake-up call. You've got to fall in love with your numbers. You've got to look under the hood even when it's messy, because the truth will set you free, but first, it might piss you off. Get uncomfortable, get clear, get disciplined, because once you know your numbers, really know them, you'll stop reacting and start leading. You'll stop surviving and start scaling. You'll stop hoping and start owning. This is business mastery, and it starts with the truth. There's a lie most entrepreneurs have been sold, that if you just hustle harder, push more, grind longer, success will eventually knock on your door. That if you're exhausted, stressed, overbooked, and constantly busy, you're doing it right. But let me tell you the truth that separates those who stay stuck from those who scale to 7, 8, or 9 figures. Hustle without strategy is a trap. Now don't get me wrong, hustle has its place. When you're just starting out, when it's just you and a dream, you've got to grind. You've got to outwork the doubt, outlast the fear, and power through the unknown. But hustle is not a long-term business model. It's not scalable. It's not mastery. It burns people out. It creates chaos. It builds businesses that fall apart the moment you take your foot off the gas. If you want to create a business that grows without grinding you into the ground, then you need to scale with strategy. Because true business mastery isn't about doing more, it's about doing what matters most. It's about leverage, systems, optimization, and leadership. Scaling isn't about adding more weight to your back, it's about building a stronger machine. Think about it. You don't see the CEO of a Fortune 500 company answering customer service calls or packing boxes. Not because those jobs don't matter, they do, but because the role of a leader is to rise above the noise and focus on the moves that move the needle. So many entrepreneurs are trapped in the weeds. They confuse movement with momentum. They say, I'm working 16 hours a day, why am I not growing? It's because they're doing tasks that feel urgent but don't produce exponential results. They're busy being busy. And they've built a business that depends on them to survive, which is the exact opposite of freedom. Here's the shift. You've got to stop being the engine and start being the architect. You've got to stop asking, how can I do this? And start asking, who can do this for me? You've got to stop solving problems at the surface and start designing systems that prevent the problems from happening again. That's strategy, that's leverage, that's how you scale, and it starts with clarity. What is your business really about? What's your mission? What's your niche? Who do you serve better than anyone else? If you're unclear on that, you'll waste time chasing shiny objects. You'll build products that don't connect. You'll attract customers who drain your energy. But when you get laser focused, everything gets easier. Your messaging sharpens, your marketing cuts through, your offers hit harder, and scaling becomes a matter of math, not magic. Once you've got clarity, you need systems. Systems are what make your business predictable, repeatable, and scalable. Without them, you're just reinventing the wheel every day. You're answering the same questions, solving the same problems, and getting the same inconsistent results. So what needs a system? Everything. Your lead generation, your onboarding, your sales process, your client delivery, your finances, your hiring, your training, your feedback loops. Systems don't replace the human touch, they amplify it. They free up your time so you can focus on growth, not just maintenance. And that brings us to automation and delegation, two words that every entrepreneur must learn to love. If you're doing tasks that a system or a team member could be doing for you, you're bottlenecking your own growth. You're not scaling, you're surviving. Automation means using technology to streamline repeatable tasks, emails, scheduling, follow-ups, payments. Delegation means handing over responsibility to capable team members who can own outcomes, not just complete checklists. But here's the thing. Most people don't delegate because they don't trust. They say, it's faster if I just do it myself. Or they won't do it like I do. And you know what? At first, they won't. But leadership isn't about doing everything, it's about developing people. It's about training, coaching, creating standards, and then stepping back so others can step up. You'll never scale if you don't trust your team, and you'll never attract high performers if you keep micromanaging. Remember this, you don't grow a business, you grow people and people grow the business. Scaling also means understanding your numbers because strategy without data is just guessing. You need to know your customer acquisition cost, your customer lifetime value, your churn rate, your revenue per employee. These numbers will tell you when to invest, when to pivot, when to pause, and when to go all in. Want to scale faster? Look at your offer. One of the fastest ways to scale is not by doing more, but by charging more. Too many entrepreneurs undervalue themselves and their results. But if your product solves a big problem, if it delivers real transformation, if it saves time, energy, or money, then you can raise your prices, increase your margins, and grow without adding more volume. And finally, scaling with strategy means you've got to elevate your role. You've got to step into your identity as a true CEO, not a technician, not a solopreneur, a leader, a visionary, the person who sees around corners, sets the pace, and builds a company that doesn't just work, it wins. Your role shifts from doing to deciding, from managing to leading, from reacting to orchestrating. You stop being the one who gets things done and start being the one who builds a team and a system that gets everything done. That's the power of scaling with strategy. It's not about being busy, it's about being brilliant. It's not about adding chaos, it's about creating clarity. It's not about doing more, it's about doing what matters most. So if you've been grinding, if you've been pushing harder but not seeing growth, if your calendar is full but your business feels stuck, it's time to stop hustling and start engineering your business for scale. Because hustle might build momentum, but strategy builds empires. Let me be real with you. Your product doesn't grow your business. Your marketing doesn't grow your business. Even your personal talent, as powerful as it is, doesn't scale a company. You know what does? People. The greatest leaders in the world know one thing above all else: you build the right team. You build the right business. You don't scale alone. You scale through culture. Through leadership. Through people who show up and go all in not because they have to, but because they're inspired to. But here's the catch. A team doesn't become unstoppable by accident. It doesn't happen by throwing a few people together, assigning roles, and hoping they don't quit. No, an unstoppable team culture is designed, built, and led intentionally, relentlessly, strategically. Most entrepreneurs treat their teams like tools, task-based, transactional, and replaceable. That's why turnover is high, morale is low, and growth hits a wall. But the truth is, people aren't robots. They don't work at their highest level because you pay them. They work at their highest level because they're seen, valued, and part of something bigger than themselves. Culture is not a buzzword. It's the invisible force that either multiplies your momentum or quietly kills it. If your culture is reactive, toxic, or unclear, I don't care how good your marketing is, how many leads you have, or how sharp your strategy is, your growth will collapse under the weight of dysfunction. But if your culture is aligned, driven, and empowered, you become unstoppable. So how do you create that? It starts with vision. People don't follow goals, they follow missions. What do you stand for? What's the deeper why behind what you do? A paycheck doesn't inspire someone to give their all. But a mission, a cause, a movement, a future they believe in, that gets people to show up early, stay late, and give their soul to the work. As a leader, you need to communicate your vision constantly, not just once at an annual meeting, every week, every day, every conversation. Your team needs to feel it in your tone, your decisions, your energy. Because when people feel part of something bigger than themselves, they play bigger. They take ownership, they care, but vision alone isn't enough. You also need values, clear, non-negotiable principles that guide behavior. Too many companies write down values like integrity and teamwork, but never live them. Your values must be actionable. They must be modeled by leadership, and they must be enforced. If someone violates your values and you let it slide because they're too valuable or too hard to replace, you just told your whole team this culture is a lie, and that erodes trust faster than anything else. Culture isn't about free snacks or ping-pong tables. It's about standards. What do you tolerate? What do you celebrate? What do you expect? An unstoppable team culture holds everyone to a high standard, including the founder. Because if you want loyalty, if you want effort, if you want innovation, you've got to earn it. Not through pressure, but through presence. Are you available? Are you honest? Do you take responsibility? Do you admit mistakes? Because people don't follow perfection, they follow authenticity. Next, let's talk about trust. Because without trust, your team will never perform at their full potential. They'll withhold ideas, avoid risk, fear failure, and play small. But when people feel safe, when they know they won't be punished for speaking up, failing forward, or telling the truth, they bring their whole selves to the table. You build trust through communication. Not just check-ins and reports, but real human conversations. Get to know your team. Understand what drives them, what scares them, what they want. Feedback goes both ways. As a leader, you need to give it with clarity and receive it with humility. Also recognize your people. Celebrate progress, not just outcomes. Don't wait for perfection to appreciate someone's contribution. Recognition is fuel. When people feel seen, they rise. When they feel ignored, they shrink. And in today's world, where burnout is real and loyalty is rare, gratitude is a competitive advantage. Now let's talk accountability, the other side of the coin. High-performing cultures are not soft. They're not all hugs and hand-holding. They're built on radical ownership. Every person on your team must know what success looks like, how it's measured, and that they own the outcome. No excuses, no blame. Just results. Accountability isn't about micromanaging. It's about clarity. People want to win, but they can only win if they know the rules, the score, and their role. And here's something powerful: if someone isn't the right fit, let them go. The wrong people will pollute your culture, slow down your team, and cost you more than you think. Hire slowly, fire quickly. Don't just hire for skill, hire for values, for drive, for alignment. And when you find great people, invest in them, train them, coach them, develop them. Give them the tools and feedback they need to grow. Because the best teams are built on people who are constantly evolving. Players want to be challenged. They want to learn. They want to be part of something elite. If you want to build an unstoppable team, you must be an unstoppable leader. Not perfect, but committed. Present, visionary, demanding with heart. You set the tone, your energy becomes their energy. Your standards become their standards. When you lead with purpose, hold the line on values, communicate clearly, recognize consistently, and demand excellence with compassion, something incredible happens. Your team stops being employees and starts becoming believers. They don't just do the job, they own the mission. They don't just work for the paycheck, they show up for the impact. And that right there is the ultimate leverage. Because while tools, tactics, and tech change, culture scales, people scale, leadership scales. Build the culture and the company will follow. At the end of the day, business mastery isn't about luck, chance, or waiting for the perfect moment. It's about decision. It's about commitment. It's about choosing to no longer operate in reaction, but in intention. You can no longer afford to wing it, to run on adrenaline and hope. That's not sustainable. That's not scalable. That's survival. And you weren't born to survive, you were born to lead. Mastering your inner game gives you the emotional strength to make powerful decisions in uncertain times. Knowing your numbers gives you the visibility to take strategic action instead of blind risks. Scaling with strategy lets you work smarter, not harder, and build systems that compound your results. Creating an unstoppable team culture turns your business into a movement, one where everyone rows in the same direction with fire in their eyes and a mission in their heart. And obsessing over your customer experience. That's how you become unforgettable. That's how you dominate your market. This is business mastery, not theory, not fluff, not motivation for a moment. It's real, lasting transformation. It's building something that grows beyond you, something that impacts lives, creates legacy, and gives you the freedom you started this journey for in the first place. So stop playing small. Stop chasing every new trick and trend. And start building a business that works harder for you than you do for it. Because once you step into mastery, the game will never be the same again. Let's go.